Hello, everybody. Hey, I just wanted to jump on today and record this little clip with a very dear friend of mine. This is Miss Sadika Kebbi. She is currently residing in Dubai, and she is somebody that I've asked to be with me because I know her story. She actually has a TED Talk on it, and she has a really, really challenging story that she's been through, a heartbreaking story, but she's actually step by step come through to the other side. She's developed her own nonprofit organization, her own consultancy. She's training all over the world, and especially in the Middle East, and just building people's lives up. So she's taken this big heavy weight, like this big boulder, and thrown it down and stood on it and made a platform out of it to help herself and other people. So I wanted you to hear from her a little bit about her journey and how that process has worked out. So I'm going to turn it over to Sadika. Sadika, thank you so much for joining me today and speaking into the lives of these dear souls that I'm going to be in front of tomorrow and in the future.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Jeff is a really dear, dear friend. And also, I can say a colleague. We're both John Maxwell certified trainers, coaches, and speakers. And would like to take you back into my past, and definitely starting with my childhood. Actually, I was used as a go-between by my mother. Whenever they had clashes, my parents would kind of blow the place up, and they couldn't communicate. They didn't find a communicating platform where they can solve their issues and problems. So my mother used me as a go-between whenever they had this kind of miscommunication. I would call it more, it's anger, it's frustration, and definitely because they didn't know how to communicate properly with each other. So whenever I delivered my mom's message to my dad, I was beaten until broken. So you'd find me sometimes with a broken leg, sometimes arm, sometimes fingers. And this kept on going until the age of around 11, when I started saying no. And I started kind of putting the borderline, setting a borderline between myself and my parents. But a great turning point happened when I was 10 years old. And this is when, unfortunately, I lost a friend of mine to the Civil War. It was such a drastic loss and horrific death that terminated her life and her family's life as well. And unfortunately, this was done by a Christian militia. And, the Civil War is really atrocious, I can say. And it was a very traumatic event in my life. But I can say that my soul was saved 2 years later by a priest, by Uncle George, who was my father's childhood friend. And actually, Uncle George started planting those seeds within my heart ever since I was 12 years old. And those seeds were watered for all along the way by Uncle George and many other mentors. But the first one was Uncle George, when he said the following, and he said, Sadika, and he also called me Mary, by the way. Sadika, my little Mary, whenever you hold God in your heart, the human he created reveals itself by serving others. And then, and only then, even your enemy becomes human. Of course, at first, I didn't make sense of these words, but he led the way. I mean, he was the role model. He did not preach. He actually did. He was leading the actions. And as a child, and all of us as children, we are mimics. So I was monkey see, monkey do, if you want, at the beginning. And at a later stage, and I can say around 14, I joined the Red Cross. And it really hit me how atrocious the Civil War was. And then and there, I understood that misjudgment, misconceptions, grudges, anger, all this can lead you by the nose into hell. But when you kind of cut the ropes of all these, you set yourself free and you start understanding. The first step to forgiveness is understanding where people came from. I started understanding where my parents came from. And then slowly, I started understanding where militias in Lebanon came from. And I started figuring out how they were led also by their noise, by corrupt leaders, unfortunately. But if the human being, the most important thing I learned that you cripple yourself. And for a while, I crippled myself because I was always blaming others for what was happening to me. I was always angry at others because of what was happening to me. I was kind of envious of some other people because of the lives they led. So all these vicious feelings and emotions crippled me. They crippled me on the inside. And I couldn't take action to a certain point unless someone pushed me to do it. But I can say that around 16, 17, I started freeing myself by asking for assistance, because sometimes we cannot do it on our own. We need support, and it's not a shame to ask for support or to ask for other people's help. And slowly, and the first help, of course, it's Uncle George, I repeat. So he was there all the time. Whenever I needed him, I'd go back to him. And then at a certain point, I even went to a psychologist, to a psychiatrist, and slowly, I started releasing myself. And then I started building on my personal growth. And this is the greatest asset or the greatest investment a human being can do. So by taking courses related to emotional fitness, related to coaching, related to emotional intelligence, all these courses helped me grow as a human being and helped me grow on the personal level. And slowly, I got rid of all the chains. And I really realized that I was the only prisoner in the whole, in every relationship that I made. And once you free yourself, it's a feeling that until today, I really cannot describe, but I can tell you something. You start adding value to yourself and to others. And when you start adding this value to yourself and to others, this is when you realize and you recognize your purpose. And you know that purpose precedes existence and that God has created you for something. And I also realized that the journey that I went through was for me to go through. It was meant to be for me to become the person I am today. And at the end of the day, I learned to surrender. I surrendered 100% to my Creator. I surrendered 100% to my faith. And this brought me to another level, and especially the level of forgiveness. And this is how I learned to forgive, how I learned to add value to myself and to others. Thank you so much, Jeff, for having me. And I hope I added some value to others, and I hope some inspiration as well.
Wow, Sadika, thank you so much for sharing. I mean, your story just always touches me and blows me away. It's like to look at you right like we are right now and to see the radiance and joy on your face, you know, of doing what you're doing and adding that value. It seems almost impossible to imagine that you went through the atrocities and the evil and the heartache that you did, but you did. But this is where you've come to. So thank heavens you didn't stop just in that state of the feelings and the anger and the judgment and the bitterness and whatnot towards other people. That people came into your life like Uncle George and others and the Red Cross and these others that came into your life and that helped you move from that space into the space you are. So the thing I really wanted people to see is that better is possible. We have a dear friend who says that better is possible, who says that all the time. And you are just the poster child, really, in my mind, for better is possible. I mean, when I think of that, I think of you. I think of your story, which you tell so well, and the beauty and the value that's come out of it, not just for yourself. That would be enough, but also for other people. It's adding value to people around the world as you speak and you train and your TED Talk and your books. And it's just amazing. I'm so glad to call you my friend. You're so inspirational. And I know like today, I know you've had a long, crazy day, but it's like you would never know it by looking at you. You're just like right
Oh,
there,
thank you.
ready to go, just happy as can be, and spreading that joy with others. So thank you so much for Sadika for doing this. This is really a privilege to have you do this and to be able to capture your story again in this format. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.